Gabbie, and I'm very thrilled to be here with you today.
And I'm Juami, and it's great to be back. Gabbie, how have you been?
I've been okay. Just trying to juggle everything. You know, some days are better than others. How about you?
Yeah, I can relate. You know, it's been a bit of a roller coaster for me too. Honestly, some days I feel overwhelmed, and that's something, many people experience.
Sorry. Absolutely. It's interesting how our day-to-day emotions can affect our overall mental health. So that actually brings us to today's topic. We're diving into mental health, exploring how our feelings impact our well-being.
Exactly. Let's talk about it. So it's important, to check in with ourselves and each other. So what's been on your mind lately, regarding mental health?
Well, I've been reflecting on the importance of reaching out to friends when I'm feeling low. Like literally last night, I spent maybe like 5 hours talking to my friends back in high school, and it's really helped with like just being all chill after going through like the stress of like finals, right?
Yeah.
So, reaching out to friends can make such a difference. I found that just having a chat really helps lift my mood, right? What about you, Juami? How do you cope when things get tough?
For me, it's all about finding that moment of stillness, and I try to take a few minutes each day to meditate or just, sit quietly, with my thoughts, and it's amazing how grounded I can be.
That sounds wonderful. Meditation is something I wanted to delve into more. I often find myself overwhelmed with like thoughts, just overwhelming thoughts, right?
Yeah.
But how do you start?
Usually I just start, with 5 minutes. I just focus on my breathing and let go of, any distractions, things that have been on my mind lately, things that have been bothering me. And honestly, it's all about building a practice over time without pressure.
That's. Oh, sorry, I just hesitated. But that's such a good tip. Okay, I'm not judging you, don't worry. But I think many people feel anxious about meditation because they think there's a right way to do it. It's more about finding what works for you, right?
Exactly. And speaking of support, have you heard of any community initiatives that focus on mental health?
Yes, there are so many great resources out there, like local support groups or even online communities. Finding either personal or virtual spaces to share experiences can be incredibly healing.
Absolutely. It really helps to know you're not alone in how you feel. Sometimes just hearing someone else's, story can make you feel validated.
Totally agree. And something else I find helpful is journaling. Putting my thoughts on paper not only helps me process my feelings, but also allows me to track my mental health over time.
Journaling is fantastic. It serves as a great outlet. What kind of things do you usually write about in your journal?
I jot down daily reflections, what I'm grateful for, and even my worries. It's really liberating to put it all down without judgment.
Yeah. That's a great practice. And as we dive deeper into our discussion today, let's also touch on signs of when we might need to seek help. It's crucial for our listeners to recognize them.
Definitely. Acknowledging when we need support is a vital part of maintaining our mental health. Whether it's talking to a therapist or confiding in a friend, taking that step can be life-changing.
Exactly. So let's break down some common signs that might indicate it's time to reach out for help.
Alright, so common signs. I think for me personally, whenever it's the time to seek help, when I'm just feeling, like I said, overwhelmed, or when I'm feeling stressed, or sometimes when I'm really down, I just feel like I don't want to get up. I have a lot of things on my mind, and instead of just maybe doing them or starting my day or whatever, because I have so much worries, I just kind of freeze and just bed rot all day. Bed rot, right?
Yeah. And for me, sometimes it's when I realize it's time for me to reach out for help, it's mostly when it gets to like a certain type of harm in a certain way that it could be physical or emotional or even mental.
Yeah, I think the moment that we start hurting, we have to recognize that, hey, maybe I need some support, right?
Yeah.
So, speaking of which, most of what we just mentioned seem to be very specific to our own needs, right?
Yeah.
But how about for everyone else out there that might be having trouble finding this personal coping or support mechanism? Why don't we look into the services available to those who need support? Sorry, it's crucial. It's really crucial to know what's out there.
Absolutely. In fact, in the Philippines, one of the significant advancements in mental health care is the establishment of the Mental Health Act, which aims to provide a comprehensive framework for all mental health services.
Right. This act not only ensures access to services, but also protects the rights of individuals with mental health conditions. It's a big step towards integrating mental health care in our general health system.
Exactly, and it emphasizes community-based care, which is so important. Instead of relying solely on hospitals, it encourages developing local mental health services that can reach out to people wherever they are.
That is a game changer. But as we know, there are still challenges like underfunding and shortage of professionals. It's alarming that only about 3 to 5% of the health budget goes to mental health.
It really is, and with only a handful of psychiatrists available per population, many people struggle to find the help they truly need. This is where understanding types of mental health providers becomes essential.
Exactly. We have psychologists, psychiatrists, social workers, and counselors, each playing a unique role in supporting mental health. For instance, psychologists can provide therapy and assessments, while psychiatrists can prescribe medication.
And let's not forget about the various treatment options available, like cognitive behavioral therapy and dialectical behavior therapy. These approaches can really help manage their symptoms effectively, and I found those two therapies online.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's all about finding the right fit for each person, and considering that you found that online, nowadays it's one way or another. It's really easy to access for help because of all the sources you can find online, right? Sorry.
Yeah.
But some may benefit from individual therapy, while others find group sessions more supportive.
Yeah. And with the rise of telehealth, accessing these services has become easier for many, especially those who might feel stigmatized or uncomfortable seeking help in a person.
That is a great point, and I feel like that sort of stigma sort of contributes to why we don't have a lot of professionals out there. And it is so important for our listeners to know that help is available, despite being not a lot in this country. And it's okay to reach out, whether it's through a therapist, a support group, or even a helpline. Taking that first step can be incredibly transformative. So now that we discussed the importance of mental health services, let us dive into one of the most effective components, psychotherapy.
Absolutely. Psychotherapy, often referred as talk therapy, is a powerful tool for individuals struggling with various mental health issues. There are several approaches, each tailored to their different needs.
One of the most common is cognitive behavioral therapy, or CBT. It focuses on identifying and changing negative thought patterns that can lead to distress. It's particularly effective for people It's particularly effective for those who have anxiety and depression.
Right.
Me?
Right.
Sorry.
CBT helps individuals understand how their thoughts influence their feelings and behaviors. By changing those thought patterns actually, they can improve their emotional responses.
Right. And another approach is dialectical, I hope I read that right, behavior therapy, or DBT. It is designed to help people manage intense emotions and improve on interpersonal relationships. It's especially beneficial for those who have BPD or borderline personality disorder.
Exactly, DBT combines cognitive behavioral techniques and mindfulness practices, helping individuals learn to accept their feelings while also working towards change.
And then we have acceptance and commitment therapy, which, is called ACT, so very fitting. This therapy encourages individuals to accept their thoughts and feelings rather than fighting against them. It's about committing to personal values and making positive changes in one's behavior.
That's a great point. ACT or ACT is particularly useful for those dealing with anxiety disorder or chronic pain, as it helps them navigate their emotions while still pursuing their meaningful goals.
And let's not forget about trauma-focused therapies, which are crucial for those who have experienced significant trauma. These therapies, like trauma-focused cognitive behavioral therapy, help individuals process and heal from their traumatic experiences.
Absolutely, they provide coping strategies and gradually expose individuals to their trauma in a safe environment, which can be incredibly healing.
Sorry. Yeah, it's fantastic how diverse psychotherapy can be. Each approach offers unique tools and techniques to help individuals find relief and improve their mental health.
Definitely, and for anyone considering therapy, it's important to find a qualified professional who can guide them through the process and help them determine which approach might work best for them.
Exactly. Therapy is a personal journey, and what works for one person may not work for another, and it's all about finding the right fit.
So if you're listening and thinking about therapy, remember that it's always a brave step towards better mental health. Don't hesitate to reach out for them.
Alright, so as we move forward, let's tackle some statistics that give us a clear picture of mental health, both globally and here in the Philippines.
It's eye-opening to think that according to the World Health Organization, around 1 in 4 people globally will experience a mental health issue at some point in their lives.
That is a staggering figure. And interestingly, in the Philippines, a 2021 survey indicated that approximately 1 in 5 Filipinos reported experiencing a mental health concern, whether it's anxiety, depression, or something else.
Exactly. Despite that significant number, many individuals in the Philippines still face barriers to accessing mental health services, with studies showing that only about 5% of those
5%.
in need actually receive treatment.
Yeah, that's concerning. It really highlights the gap between the need for mental health services and the resources available. In fact, a report indicated that mental health expenditures in the Philippines accounted for less than 2% of the of the total health budget. It's kind of crazy.
Yeah, it's hard to believe considering the rising incidence of mental health challenges. We need to advocate for better funding and resources to address these issues.
Absolutely. And on a positive note, initiatives like the Mental Health Act of 2018 aim to improve mental health services and accessibility across the country, which is a step in the right direction.
Yes, that legislation is crucial for promoting awareness and providing a legal framework to support mental health programs. But we still need to increase public knowledge and encourage people to seek help.
Indeed, I read that a significant barrier for many is the stigma surrounding mental health, like I mentioned that earlier. About 60% of Filipinos believe that mental health issues are a sign of weakness, and that prevents them from reaching out for help.
Well, that's heartbreaking. Changing perceptions is just as important as improving services. We need to promote understanding about mental health to foster a more supportive community.
Definitely. So it's vital for us to keep ourselves aware of these statistics and their implications to drive that change and encourage individuals to prioritize their mental health. So, as we explore the critical need for mental health services, it's important to address the hesitancy that many people experience in seeking therapy.
Exactly, despite the alarming statistics, as we discussed, like the fact that approximately 3.6 million Filipinos suffer from depression, many still refrain from accessing help.
And I'd like to repeat this again because it's very important. A major factor is stigma. So often people bring, sorry, I don't know that, but so often people fear being labeled as weak or crazy. So relatable. But again, the societal stigma can prevent individuals from seeking that much needed support because it makes them fear of having these labels.
Yeah. And this stigma isn't just an abstract idea. It's lived reality for many. It's reinforced by a general lack of understanding and acceptance of mental health issues in various cultures, including our own.
Yeah, that's a tough barrier. And when I think about that, I realize how it feeds into cultural beliefs too. Like in the Philippines, for instance, there's often this pressure to uphold family honor, and many might decide against seeking help to avoid burdening their families.
Exactly, that sense of obligation can lead to individuals internalizing their struggles instead of finding support, which is disheartening. And then you have economic barriers to consider, like the cost of therapy.
Yeah. And financial constraints can significantly deter people from accessing mental health services, which really sucks. And with a limited budget allocated for mental health in the Philippines, like only about 2.65%. Wow. It makes sense that costs can escalate quickly.
These financial burdens only add to what's already a difficult situation, you know? And then there's a whole issue of lack of awareness, even about what mental health services are available.
That's true. And many individuals don't fully understand their mental health needs or the benefits of therapy, and this lack of awareness can exacerbate their hesitancy to seek help. And yeah, basically.
It's an interconnected web of challenges. I remember when I was first looking into therapy, I felt overwhelmed and uncertain, not really knowing, what resources were out there.
Real. It's one thing to know you need help, and another to navigate how to access it. I think sharing our personal experiences can help demystify the journey.
Another very true point, actually. By opening up these barriers, we're not only validating our experiences, but we also encourage others to take that step towards seeking help. It's also important, very important actually, to break the silence.
Right. As we dive into the benefits of therapy, it's essential to recognize just how transformative it can be for individuals facing mental health challenges.
Absolutely, therapy can provide a safe space for people to explore their emotions, gain insights, and develop effective, coping strategies. We're thrilled to have our guest speaker today, Nathan Chua, here with us today. What are your thoughts on the benefits of therapy?
So to everyone, thanks for having me. I think one of the most significant benefits of therapy is emotional relief. It offers having a professional to talk to help enlighten burden of anxiety, depression, or whatever someone might be carrying. So I'm the guest speaker because I have a personal experience. It started in the pandemic, where most of us were alone, quarantined. We all expected that one weekend, quarantine was over. But it ended up actually almost 2 years of having a pandemic or quarantine. So this developed when I was most of the time I was alone in my own room. We all had our online classes, and I was actually separated from my family because I was stuck in Rizal. So I was only with a helper almost a year because the borders were closed and we couldn't exit the house during the lockdown. So my personal experience, I had a professional to talk to. Like what you guys mentioned, having somebody to talk to or having a friend is very important, and having professional help is very essential.
That's a great point. I've heard many people say that just having an objective ear listen to them makes a huge difference in how they feel.
That's a great point. Right, and it's not about
Don't worry about it.
it's not just about venting. Therapy encourages personal growth. It empowers individuals to understand their patterns and make healthier choices.
Definitely. Through different therapeutic techniques, people can also learn to challenge negative thoughts and to reframe their perspectives, which can be life-changing.
Absolutely. So many people benefit from therapy, whether they're dealing with major issues or just looking to improve their day-to-day emotional state. It's all about finding tools that work for them.
And when we talk about the ripple effect, therapy doesn't just help the individual, it can positively impact their relationships with their family, friends, and heck, even coworkers.
Exactly. As somebody who has been through therapy myself, I can attest to how much it improves your interpersonal connections and overall well-being. Like what I mentioned earlier, I was separated with my family for almost a year, and like what you said, this can positively impact your relationship with your family, friends, because my personal experience, that's what I lost. My connection and my somehow it took a hit on my relationship with my family and friends.
Thank you for sharing that perspective, Nathan. It's vital for us to communicate how much good therapy can do. Alright, so yeah, like as you've shared, therapy can really help like alleviate a lot of like these feelings that like burden us, right? And not only that, therapists and a lot of mental health professionals like really try to like give us like certain suggestions of how we can get through these things. And yeah, like now that we've covered the benefits and stuff, let us pivot to encouraging our listeners to consider therapy. With the statistics that we've shared, it's clear that many struggle but also have to access this support, to support.
Exactly, it's essential to emphasize that seeking therapy is a sign of strength, not weakness. Nathan, what would you say to someone who is hesitant to start therapy?
So I'd tell them that taking the first step could be daunting, but it's really one of the most empowering decisions you can make. This about prioritizing mental health. So you don't really need to be afraid or ashamed of saying that you're feeling this way or you're feeling that way. Because most of the time people think that when you open up what you're truly feeling, they see it as a weakness, or they think that you're gonna be degraded by these certain people. But as simple as approaching somebody would be the first stepping stone.
Well said. I've always worried about like being judged, even though said people that are like involved in these like mental health things, obviously like they're being paid to do this stuff, right? But there's still like this like deep part within me that feels like I'm being judged. But and yeah, same for our listeners who might still be unsure whether it be for like a similar reason as I am. I think it's important to remember the staggering statistic we mentioned earlier. Like only a small percentage of those in need receive treatment, and this generally underscores the importance of breaking that barrier.
Absolutely. Therapy doesn't just, elevate or alleviate symptoms.
Yeah.
It provides you with lifelong skills to manage stress, anxiety, and other challenges that's, invaluable.
So, plus finding the right therapist can be transformative. It's okay to try different professionals until you find someone to connect with. And just to add to that, doesn't always have to be a licensed professional.
Yeah.
Just to be somebody they're comfortable with. Example, you just bump into each other and a simple how are you or simple greeting could simply spark something to open up something that you've been hiding deep inside. So that's why schools encourage counselors, mentors, or even there's just people in your family that you are comfortable with or a best friend. Those could be considered your therapist or your comfort person.
So true. After all, we human beings are social creatures, so any worries or troubles that we go through, obviously, maybe not all the time, but like for most cases, it's totally valid to like share them, right?
Yeah.
So, as we come to the end of our podcast, yay, we want to shine a light on our incredible organization doing vital work in the field of mental health. The Eyes on You organization, or EO.
So founded in 2022 by Wesley Colapo, during a time of isolation brought on by the pandemic, EO
Yes.
exemplifies a progressive and impactful initiative addressing the mental health challenges faced by Filipinos.
And their mission is rooted in two key objectives: breaking the stigma surrounding mental health in Filipino society and providing free access to mental health services. EO, or AO, however we want to pronounce it, closely aligns with the United Nations Sustainable Development Goal of ensuring good health and well-being for all.
One of EO's significant efforts is the Gabuhay app, which aims to promote mental health accessibility. This innovative platform features essential tools, including a monitored online forum for safe discussions, a journaling feature for self-expression, a mood tracker for personal insights, an emergency SOS feature, and a streamlined scheduling tool for mental health services.
The community engagement aspect is also phenomenal. EO conducts wellness events and activities across Metro Manila, focusing on fostering emotional well-being. They rely on a passionate group of volunteers who actively advocate for mental health.
Now let's hear more directly from the founder, Wesley Colapo. Wesley, could you share more about EO's vision and how listeners, can get involved?
Hi, so thank you again for that very well introduction. So, at AO, we believe that mental health care should be accessible, normalized, and even integrated into our daily lives. Our new app, Gabuhay, is our very own response to the many barriers faced by many of our own countrymen, providing many tools as well for any individuals suffering from mental health to explore their mental health in a much more supportive environment. We're also hosting community events to engage with people directly. So if any of our viewers out there, listeners, might want to get involved, they could by participating in these events and aligning themselves as well with what we're advocating for, which is a very accessible mental health environment.
It sounds like such a vital resource, especially given the challenges many are facing today. Breakthroughs like this help eliminate stigma and create a more supportive community.
Absolutely. Wesley, what can our listeners do to support EO and become part of this important movement?
So That's a very good question. So, there are several ways to get involved. We encourage listeners, especially, to download the Gabuhay app, participate in our events, and do the simple things such as spreading the word and raising mental health awareness in their own communities. Sharing your own experiences as well could help demystify mental health issues and even encourage others to seek support and therapy when it would otherwise not be that um, might otherwise not be that apparent to them that they might need it.
Wonderful. It's so important to be part of this positive change. Remember, friends, engaging with initiatives like EO not only supports your mental health, but also helps in building a community that prioritizes well-being. So, yeah, I'd like to thank Wesley for joining us today, and as well as Nathan.
Thank you.
Yeah, so this was our talk on mental health here in the Carrot Perspective. Yay!
And we also want to thank our sponsors, Ketchup. That's it.
Ah,
And we would like to also thank, all the listeners for listening onto this podcast. We also want to thank our guests that came onto this podcast. We also like to thank, just all the sponsors that have been with us along this incredible journey. Just tune in to next episode. And we'll be discussing about, other things that could also, help you physically, mentally, and emotionally. So, yeah.
yeah!
So, we've been The Cat Perspective, and we'll catch you next time.
Bye-bye! Thank
See ya.
you!